Hello, welcome back. In this episode I am going to be fiddling around with Bob. Apologies to Rowan Atkinson, he can do it way better than I can. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, and if you don't, and you can't turn it off, if you want to contact me, Church House Classics, it's all one word. And if you fancy supporting the channel, encouraging me to do more content like this, then there's a PayPal me link scrolling on the bottom. If you fancy, buy me a pint, same link. Just say, Rich, have a pint on me. Anyway, enjoy the video. Right, first and foremost, and most importantly, the container's arrived. Yay, full of booty. It's also quite good at shielding some of the noise from the recycled chappies, which is good news. Now, I've been going through the container and pulling various bits out. I mean, obviously, I had all of the bobtail parts sent up to me. Some of this stuff might be useful to you bobtail chappies out there. We'll see. I need to recover quite a lot of bits. I mean, there's a fair number of bits that have come in. Most importantly, the scrap door that I knew I kept. So this door was utterly ruined and dented and smashed to pieces, but it's got that vital piece along the middle rib there that I can repair the main door with, which is hiding back here somewhere. Where's it gone to? It's hiding somewhere. What have I done with it? Silly ass. It's gone. Oh, it's inside the car. Look, there it is. Right. So today and yesterday and most of this week actually has been very, very, very intensive on the organisation front. As you can see, Stag is outside. Stag's being picked up today. It's all complete. So I want to relocate Bob to over there. I've got some skates that I'm going to be able to manoeuvre it around on. But today, it's flipping freezing. I've had this space heater going. Works well. I mean, it's got the temperature in here to about -1 now, which is pretty impressive. And I've got a little hand heater there for when my fingers start to feel like they're falling off. As you can see, it's not the warmest day, but we struggle on, don't we? Coffee, heat, and the promise of a beer when I get home really helped me. So today, the reason I'm not going to be kind of doing excessive bodywork today is because I tried to weld. A couple of days ago I was welding the diff nose onto the Stag, and I was really struggling with it. Anyway, it turns out my regulator was freezing up. I use an argon CO2 regulator, here it is in fact, on the welder, and although I could hear the hiss of gas, it wasn't letting anywhere near the level of gas through that it should have been. So I'm going to wait till it gets a little bit warmer before I do the welding, but there's plenty of other shit I can do. And today I'm going to be converting 3 heater boxes into one that's going to work for Bob. So I've got that one, which came up from Dave out of the A-Suffix parts car. That was negotiated as part of the deal. Interestingly, it's got some odd stickers on the front of it. I have to do a bit of research into that. So it says, I'll look at it in a minute. We'll do a bit of research on that in a second. This is another heater unit, and this is the one that I managed to salvage from somewhere. I don't know where it came from now. It's actually in fairly good shape, except for a big dent on the bottom. And then I got the one that originally came out of Bob. But to be honest, it's actually not as bad as I seem to recall. The flaps all work. It's got all the controls. Everything kind of works. That one doesn't work. Does that one work? That one doesn't work properly. I think the cable's just come off the end of that one. That's not really a problem. But it's got everything it needs, apart from it's had a hulking great big third-party matrix wedged in from this end, and they've cut through the side plate. So I'm actually going to start with dismantling this one, I think. I'm not sure if I've done a strip down on one of these heaters. I probably have. But they're pretty straightforward things to do. And then really it's a case then of taking all of the surface paint off, giving it a decent undercoat, and then a top coat in kind of whatever satin black paint finish you got. Nice original Smith's sticker up there. Yeah, it all works. It's nice handy red. Well, another Smith's sticker down there. Look, it's trapped. Nice little red line sticker on there. Kind of goes with the territory, I guess, with all of the mods that took place on Bob. Now this sticker over here, I was looking at, just caught my eye just now. It says on here, FHR 7404, number 1 of 12. Then it's got 81 written underneath here. Any ideas, anyone? It's got some unusual pot rivets around there, which I don't think... Oh, yes, they are on that one. I've just never noticed them before. I don't know. Maybe it's been refurbished before. It's missing its motor, but that's not really a huge issue. The motor on these things, apart from the plinth, the motor, that bit there is fairly kind of unique to these heater boxes, but the motor is just a generic Smith's 12 volt, what's it got here, code FHM 7577107, or 07, sorry. They're just a generic Smith's motor. And then I've got this other heater box down here, which I'm just going to drag up and lump onto the bench. My Christmas present from my dad. I eventually got it. It's quite smart, isn't it? It's going to go on the wall. I like it. Little bit of set dressing. So this is the one that I picked up as a spare part with a load of other spare parts. You can see it's got some damage to it, and I think the damage is largely because someone's tried to take the gearbox surround off an LT95. It's all pretty seized up as well. But I don't think there's anything on this that I couldn't retrieve. So I think that back plate there could be percussed back into shape. And I think there we will probably end up getting 3 decent heaters out of 3 crap heaters. That's the objective. If I have to use one for parts, I have to use one for parts. But none of them are actually that terminal that I wouldn't consider using them. But what I'll do is I will use the bases of the heater box that came with Bob, because it's going to be a June 1971 heater box. Not that there's any difference at all between a June 1971 heater box and a June 1980 heater box, but it's just like, you know, it's me. It came with the car. It's probably been in the car all its life. We'll put it back in the car, apart from this end plate. Right, so let me get myself organised, and then I will... I keep saying let me get myself organised. Let me get myself organised. Oh yeah, the cable's snapped. Look. So the cable's snapped on the bottom there. That's not really a problem because I've got a couple of spares. What I'll do though, before I try and actuate them, I will see if I can lube them up first of all. Now it could well be, although this is held onto here with a little spring clip, it could well be just drilling a small hole through and putting a clamp on the other side of it. We'll get that working again. I don't know. We'll see. Something will happen. Something will happen somewhere, and I will get on with it. You can see the mechanical nature of the switch. So basically, the click you get is a little pin on a spring in here. So as you can see, there's notches on this big segment, and you can see that each time it goes round, it clicks. So that's the click bit. But then all you're doing really is you're connecting a circuit up from this spring piece here onto each of these. So that is a high-speed blower, low-speed blower, low-speed blower, high-speed blower, and all the cable does is opens the fresh air vent. So basically in the middle here you don't have any blower at all. Okay? It's kind of what I think it's what they call the ram effect. So you've got high-speed, low-speed, ram on internal recirculated air. Then you've got that one opens the vent up at the front there. Then you've got ram on the fresh air, low speed, high speed. Sorry, that was the ram on the fresh air. There's a big gap in between. You hear the clicks. That's how that switch works. I mean, how much more basic does a switch need to be? All of this fucking ECU shit to make a heater fan go faster and slower. That's all you need. Right, so here you can see kind of the clip. You see the cam at the moment, which opens and closes the fart flap. So I think first and foremost, because this cable is tight in this sheath, I will undo it from here. Oh, come on, that's tight as well. Ridiculous noises, Richard, ridiculous. Right, that's out. These things, they sometimes, they do fall out, and I do tend to keep them. Again, this thing here, sometimes, because I can access the other side of this one, I can do that. You see, it flew somewhere. It's gone somewhere. It's miles away. That's the cable. It does move. So I'll probably be able to just straighten that out and use that, which is good news. So check the resistance on this and make sure it's all good. I think the wiring diagram's even got the resistance of the 2 circuits, so that should be fairly easy to work out. There we go. That's the other duck fade. That hasn't drilled right the way through there, is it? As now, saves me a bit of bother later on getting a 3.5mm drill out. Right, that's that fella. Drill can go there. There on the chair, going clip clippity clop on the chair. Right there. Clip clippity clop on the chair. That one on the whole was actually okay, I think. This is the passenger side, but it was this one that was a bit mangled. It was a bit mangled in this area here. How am I going to... there, I think we'll just bend back upright again. That's better on that bit. There's a big dent there. By the time it's painted with a thick Rust-Oleum enamel paint, this is going to look fucking beautiful. Just fucking beautiful. It's just where I had a challenge. I think the rest of it is alright actually. It's only really this bit up here that got damaged. That bit there can probably bend. Can. I think the rest of that is ready for cleaning. What else have we got? We've got a pair of far flaps. Whichever one comes out the best can go on. I think it's going to be that one, without even looking. So you can see on this one how the rod has started to rust. And I've seen on other cars where this is actually snapped. But we'll just double check. Interestingly, that one, the one that came off the early box, has got longer splines on it. Sorry, this is the one that came off the later box. This is a B suffix. That's a B suffix. That's an A suffix. Look at the difference in the shaft. So we've got shorter splines on that end, and we've got no point on that end. These things will clean up quite easily. This is all fairly easy to clean up. Nothing really to come off there. That will clean up nicely. That will clean up nicely, as will that. And that. It's all just in the clean pile. The control unit, we need to understand why the cable seized up and broke on that. Right, I think I won't do the motors today. Motor spins quite nicely actually. That's the other one of those bush bearings. It's in the middle there. You see how the fan pivots on the end of the motor. When that bush in there dries out, that's what causes the squeak. It's not a little mouse. Got these two rear wing sections off. I'm not sure if we're going to use these ones or another one. These need some, that's an unusual place for it to rot, but it needs some repairs up there. This edge down here, I tend to drill the spot welds out along this entire edge and replace this entire piece. It's a common rot point on these rear corners. The rest of them, however, are astonishingly good. So obviously these holes down here, I'll just grind grind back flat and then weld those holes up. That bit up there is a bit of a challenge. Okay, the other one, much the same situation. It's had a hole drilled at the top here for top tailgate catch, because I'm guessing it's failed at some point in its off-road days. The rest of it actually looks in fairly good order, and on the inside there's no sign of welded plates or plop or anything like that. It's all just under seal. This edge on this one, which is going to be a much easier fix, that edge there is gone. That's just a case of cutting that out and butt welding a piece back in there. So I think out of these two, we'll probably be able to recover those two to go back on the car. The wings, of course, somewhat truncated, which is a rotten shame, but shit happens, you know. If anyone wants some truncated wings from a two-door Range Rover that's been bobtailed, yeah, I've got a pair here. Let me know. Donations towards the project will be considered, or donations towards the channel will be considered. I've got another pair of full-length wings that are going to go onto this thing. Right, what I was going to do next, we'll set you up and time-lapse you, because I'm just going to go over this lot rather than grip blasting it. I'm going to go over it with a wire cut brush and just take all the paint off, because I've got some chassis paint here I can paint them up with. But first and foremost, I think what we need to do is just take off all of the accessory bits that we really don't need on this. I don't need the put my teeth in. I don't need the bearing at the top end there. I can go over there in that little box. It's just a case of sometimes when you get squeaky bearing on one of these, by the way, it's worthwhile, because you can access this with a heater unit in place. It's worthwhile just taking this off, and I'll show you what happens when it comes off. There's only a couple of nuts. Hold it on. Couple of nuts, and then it's mounted on washers. There's a washer missing there, and a couple of these little rubber kind of grommets. But inside there is literally just a phosphor or brass or whatever bearing that the shaft runs through. Now, it needs to be able to move around a little bit as and when the shaft moves. So basically, if that thing's sticky, then it's going to squeak. So what I tend to do is behind here, it's locked into a tab which is sealed in there. So I'll clean it up with a wire brush. In fact, let's fucking do it now so you know exactly what you're doing. I'll put these nuts and bits in here because that can go over there. Wire brush. And I'll just clean all of the old shit out. And then you can see the actual structure of the device. These rubber grommet things, they're not available new, but I rarely find that they're beyond the service. So in here you can see there's a bloody great big washer with these tabs that are holding that brass ball in place, and around the outside of it is felt. And all you really need to do is to lubricate that felt up, and it allows the ball then to move around again. And that is, that's all there is to it. It's much the same with the bush bearing on the other end. I'll keep that. I know it's there, I know it's there, I know it's there. I'm going to go back in there. I don't want to lose that because they are quite useful. I've got spares of these end caps anyway on the other. But once that's been lubed up, that'll be that bearing in good order. Let me take these gloves off because they're just shredding. I'm going to add these to the merch pile. Fucking great big lumps of checker plate. I mean, it's thick stuff, that, isn't there? Quite what it's designed to do, other than look shiny, I don't know. In the place where it was installed on this particular car. Never mind. Made someone happy. Just about to clean all this back. Look, there's a number there, 7361. Don't know what that is. Yeah. Part number, I think, more than that's a batch number. It's not a date mark, I don't think, unless it's 1973, June the 1st or the 6th of January, I don't know. We don't use the American date format in here. In fact, the only people in the world who use the US date format is the US. The rest of the world uses the day, month, year. So in this case, it would be the 1st of June. But I don't think that is a date stamp. Comments below. Just cleaning up the rest of this stuff. I'm really just taking off the loose paint on this one. This is the original Bob piece. The other bits have cleaned up quite nicely. Again, just taking off loose paint and so forth. I'll treat them with rust overnight. This is the one that we salvaged from the other panel. It's not quite so beautiful, but it'll do the job. By the time I've got some thick Rust-Oleum on it, I'll treat it for rust inside and out, and that'll be fine. That'll be today's jobs done then. Heater box stripped, treated for rust, ready for paint. Still too cold to weld. So I tried welding this morning, just a piece of test metal, and it starts out okay, then the regulator freezes up. I'm guessing the CO2 and the argon freezes about the same point as water freezes. I don't know. Comments below. Why can't I weld in sub-zero temperatures? I haven't got a heat blanket around the regulator, which is what some of the guys are sort of recommending. Anyway, can't weld, can't paint, so let's have a look at the loom. Let's see what we've got here. So I'll adjust the camera back a bit. If we go back onto, because you can see I've got a bit of sterling board here on a couple of old workmates, which is my top tool for the day. This bit here, that bit should be straight. I've got a feeling that these wires are just too inflexible. Yeah, see, the insulation's broken on it. As soon as you bend it, the insulation snaps. So I'm inclined to say, right, fuck it. Right, so we're left with two choices now with this loom. We either make up a new loom, or we buy a new loom. This is the engine. Here's creaking and groaning in the background there. Let's take. That's not so bad under there. It's just this tape. It's creaking and groaning. Take that lot off. See what we've got. Concerns with the engine loom, which I'm just going to drop down there, not in the rubbish pile. We've got concerns with the tail end of the main body loom, although I think I could probably just make new bullets for that. We've got no cross body loom, one that goes from one side of the back to the other. We've got the remains of a fuel tank, fuel sender loom. Nothing for the fuel pump. It's been right the way through this loom, and I can't find anything wrong with it. All of the earth wires are in good order, the earth wires that I've stripped back. I've started to make some repairs. The big bundle of blue joy over here, we had, kind of, I guess underneath the slam panel, was just a whole load of crimped on terminals. So they were insulated, but then they would just had wire wrapped around them, and a couple of them weren't really that well crimped at all. Now here the wires are starting to feel just a little bit kind of tetchy, and I think that's largely because of the insulating tape that went over the top of them. I unbound the rest of the loom all the way over to the passenger side, and again it's all in really good order. Happy with it. Even the earth cables have got nice clean ends on them. The bullets are missing over there for the headlight connectors, but other than that, I think we just need some light repair work on this loom. Fuse box is going to be the biggest challenge. I will get it sorted. But really all I'm doing here, let's bring it down to, so we're looking at the big chunk around the glove box, sorry, around the dashboard, and really all I'm doing here is just grouping the wires together. So obviously we've got two wires, whites there, we've got two, a red and a yellow and a red. I'm fairly sure that there were more than one red. So basically any wire that's the same colour needs to join together. So there's a brown. Some of these terminals I'm going to give a little bit of a clean up to, but I just want to kind of group the cables up and find out roughly what we've got here going on. That's a brown. That's a black. That's a brown on white. I mean, okay, kind of listening to me just reading colours out here. This is riveting viewing, Richard. I'm just going to crimp this one back, so I want to put a bullet on this one. Oops. I thought it was 2 mil. Oh, sorry, that's 2.6. I put it the right way up, you can actually see the measurements on it. There goes 2 mil. Just need a bullet. Connector. 2 mil bullets. Might just pull a bit more wire off that in there. As long as it comes right the way through, it hasn't. Put more wire off that. Oh dear. Temperature's just dropped significantly. It's always fun when that happens. So it's been like kind of hovering around 1 degree all day long. It feels like it's about -4 now. It's blowing a bit of a gale out there. My polytunnel's taking a right battering down in Devon. My father was sent me a picture of it this morning. It's torn down one side, which I'm must admit, I'm a bit pissed off about that actually, because I bought the damn thing on the basis that it was good for a really, really kind of tough climate. But Dad did say it's been blowing a gale for the last week, last 3 or 4 days certainly. So all I'm going to do here is join these two brown wires together. Oh, God help us. That's the main parts of the loom bound up. I still need to make up some terminals on this end. I still need to splice that onto there, which is somewhere underneath the slam panel. I'm not going to use that spade and what's his name connectors. I shall butt splice it together. Now, I was looking into, just put you there so you're not wiggling around all over the shop. I was looking into the fuse box situation. So, someone, somewhere can get these little terminals, these bits that go through the fuse box. However, they're not selling them independently. So the whole fuse box, this bit and all of the terminals to crimp on, comes in at a whopping £62 plus VAT plus delivery. There are some alternatives which I'm having a think about at the moment. So basically at the moment we've got a lot of white feeds that go in to a lot of fuses. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now some of those are bridged, so I'd imagine that these two fat ones are the feed wires and these little wires here are wires that will go off to other parts of the loop and wouldn't have a natural ignition controlled feed. Similarly with this brown wire. So it could well be that we can only practically have 3 fuse positions. Now I think a new fuse board is really going to be the best option here. This thing, although it's got all its clips and so forth on it, it's pretty mangled up on the back end here. So what I was thinking was kind of put this fuse box back onto the bulkhead in its kind of in its original position. Excuse me. Fucking the weather's picked up, but it's I've gone all snotty. Right, let's get rid of that lot. About 4.5 pints of snot. Right, let's do that bit again. So the other option for the fuse box is to just put this onto the dash, onto the bulkhead panel, and just put the cover over it and have the loom coming through it, but it doesn't do anything. And then all these wires go onto a separate blade fuse box, which I can pick up for 20 quid, that goes on the inside of the bulkhead and is accessible via the glove box. I'll have a chat with the customer about it. There's only 3 fuses in this thing, and there's a separate fuse there which covers off the heater and the radio and other bits and bobs, but there might be potential here for me to improve the situation. There's a purple wire come out there, look at that, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, there is a situation for us to improve, because that's been cut, that's why. There's an opportunity there to splice that one together. I'll find out what that is. So there's a few other issues we've got around and about, but maybe we just do away with the original fuse box and have a better one. I don't know what you think, but I mean, I've got all this to deal with, you see, where the wires have been kind of taken off the fuse box and then they've done away with the fuses altogether. Do you know what? We don't need where we need a fuse box. We'll just attach these straight onto the white wires. Still retrievable, still, you know, far from a dead fuse box. Now, one top tip when it comes to binding the loop, you see I've got the old heater here. Lovely that. Oh, that's really nice. That's lovely. Oh, I really like that. The tape that I'm using, it's got a certain amount of self-amalgamating kind of property to it. It's not a self-amalgamating tape, but it does kind of stretch and stick to itself. Now, if the tape is freezing cold, and it's not as freezing cold today as it was on Saturday when I was pissing it, sorry, on Friday when I was pissing it out of this, when it was about -3 or -4. But the tape does go on a lot easier if you're kind of using the original properties for it. So that's the first phase of this loom. I'm happy with it. Let's take that away from the heater. I'm going to box this lot up and I'm going to wait until I've got a decision on the fuse box. Next up.